Welcome back to the Mystic Frightcast. I am your host, Zane DeYoung.
And I'm McKenna.
And this is our show about movies and horror movies and stories and things.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. This week we are talking about the 2019 brand new Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because we didn't have time to watch a horror movie, and because it connects to the Manson family.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about with the Manson family.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. How are you?
Pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. Trucking along.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I'm good. Drinking some coffee. Living some life.
Yes, we're moving and... Well, we're leaving in about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Still looking for a place to live.
Yep. If you have any leads on one-bedroom apartments in Redondo Beach, California,
hit us up.
Hit us up.
Started packing.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing all the moving stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little bit stressful.
A little bit. I'm excited, though.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited to be in California.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah.
It'll be like a good change.
I feel like that's where my soul belongs.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm very much a California fella.
You are.
Rather than a Pacific Northwest fella.
That's true.
I like the sun. I don't like being cold. I'm not a big, nature person.
No.
Don't like technology stuff. Don't really like seafood. Or, sushi. And that's what all the big stuff here is.
Mm-hmm.
I do like coffee, but I'm sure that they have good coffee in California.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. So...
The only place where you get, bad coffee is, East Coast.
Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, how did that happen?
I don't know.
It's very odd.
People are, obsessed with it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are some Dunkin' Donuts in California.
We should go just to,
to try it.
See what all the hype is about.
I've had donuts from there before because when I went to New York, there was one in the airport.
Mm-hmm. They're just Krispy Kreme, aren't they? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except they're famous for their coffee.
It's so weird. But I'm assuming it's just shitty, drip coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're up to East Coast, but it's weird.
I know.
There's some weird stuff going on.
Do they even have espresso?
I don't know.
I'm so
If
confused.
you know the answer to that, write us.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Is Dunkin' Donuts good coffee or shit like we expect?
Yeah. What else is new? We saw a bunch of movies.
We saw a bunch of movies. We got all caught up.
Yeah, pretty much.
There are a few left that we haven't seen.
I need to go catch The Last Black Man in San Francisco before that leaves.
Yeah, we can go
the
to
crest. Yeah.
Go support your second showing theaters.
Yeah, and independent film.
Independent films.
No, we saw Late Night with
Very
Mindy
good.
Kaling and Emma Thompson. That was very good. We saw
Lion King.
Ugh. Yeah. That was not
good.
Not good. Surprise, surprise. And then I saw Crawl not too long ago.
Yeah.
Which we never talked about that on the show.
We did not.
It was good. It was about what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means I probably wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you, I don't know what specifically you don't like about monster movies, so I don't know if it has less or more of what you don't like.
I don't really either. They just don't intrigue me.
Yeah.
Or excite me.
That's kind of how I feel about haunting movies.
Really?
I'll watch them, but I'm I'd rather see a clever monster movie.
Mm.
But that also might just be because there are so many bad haunting movies coming out right now.
That's true.
Um,
Haunting movies are either very, like, smart and weird and good, or very, very bad. Because it's something that you can really easily do.
Yeah. I think most of them are just very mediocre.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'd like them more if there were ones that were, like, really bad. Just so many of them are just, like, they're all just the same. You know, you make them for, like, $2 million, and then you just don't show anything, and then you have, like, a jump scare, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just not my thing. What else? I started reading a book called The Boys from Brazil, which I'm loving.
Oh, yeah, about Hitler.
Good old Ira Levin. This is actually the first book of his that I've read, but he wrote Rosemary's Baby and The Stepford Wives and A Kiss Before Dying, I think was him. Very renowned kind of genre author. And this one is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like stuff with Nazis.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So I'd recommend that if anyone is looking for a new book to read. And that's pretty much all I got for this week.
Yeah. Did we see any more? I feel like we saw, maybe those were the only movies. It feels like we saw a lot of movies.
Yeah. Well, it's because we saw Art of Self-Defense last week, and then we saw we all saw kind of all of them in like
a span of 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Do you want to get into it?
Sure.
Okay. It was the summer of '69. It's a horrible song. I don't know why anyone likes that song.
It wasn't the summer of '69.
It was the fall of '69. Sorry.
Good old Charlie Manson.
Yeah. So, I have a timeline of his life.
Amazing.
I don't know what you have prepared.
Not a lot. I was just gonna talk about, like, the murders.
Yeah.
Like, who he murdered.
Okay. I'll set it up with a little...
And also that he's a singer-songwriter.
Oh, I have some stuff about that.
Perfect.
I
went on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it was like occupation singer-songwriter. And I was like, why did they put that as the occupation?
Instead of cult leader?
Yeah.
They should have put family man.
Family man.
It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a family film.
The Manson family film.
Okay. So, Charles Manson was born on November 12th, 1934, to a 16-year-old single mother named Kathleen. Kathleen. They kind of, like, drifted around. He was in and out of foster care and group homes and reform schools, and then he started going to, like, prison.
Yep.
And it was during... This is of a Los Angeles Times article, so shout out to...
LA Times.
LA Times. There's no author listed. It was during his stay in prison that he honed his semi-spiritual philosophy and his music.
Uh-huh.
He also took courses based off of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is that really famous like book on how to manipulate people into liking you.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Isn't it funny?
Seems like he learned a lot.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that is like there at least was a really popular book?
Yeah.
It's just basically like how to be a sociopath.
Yep.
It's insane. People are so obsessed with like social interaction as just like the key to everything.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I guess if you're Charles Manson, it was.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think it's funny that that's kind of like our metric for whether or not someone is like a good person.
Or like contributing to society.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even like if someone's socially awkward, it's so like uncomfortable. Even though really like what does it matter? Yeah. It's very strange. Also, there's an echo coming off of that corner. I wonder if it's because we moved the rug. I don't know, but I can like hear it. It's very distracting.
I don't hear it at all.
Anywho, he was released from prison on Terminal Island in 1967 when he was 32. Mm-hmm. And he made his way to San Francisco and started to put together his family.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the people who did all the murders, like, came on board in San Francisco.
Oh, like early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then in November and December of 1967, they moved to L.A. Mm-hmm. And Manson's goal at this point was just to be a musician.
Yep.
Like a rock and roll star.
Yep.
So he started sending out, like, the girls to pick up famous musicians, basically.
Yeah.
And bring them back to the ranch.
Uh-huh.
And one of the people that they picked up was Dennis Wilson, the drummer of the Beach Boys.
Yep.
And they all started hanging out, and they would have, like, orgies and shit.
Uh-huh.
And Dennis Wilson was like, yeah, this is my kind of the scene. And, like, Manson would, like, play him his music and stuff, and then he convinced Wilson to bring Mike Love, who was, like, the co-founder of the Beach Boys.
Yep.
Co-founder. It was Brian Wilson. They put that in like, the news video that I watched, and I was like, okay, you're giving Mike Love a lot of credit. But so they brought Mike Love along, and Mike Love, like, stepped into the house, and he was like, no, thank you. And so he, like, they were basically having an orgy, and Mike Love, like, left, and he, like, went to the bathroom to, like, he was going to take a shower and, like, leave.
Yeah.
He was like, this is, like, bananas. I don't want to, like,
Yeah.
be involved in this. And then apparently Manson, like, followed him into the bathroom and told him that he couldn't leave.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So anyway, that goes on for a little bit, and then a song that Charles Manson wrote shows up on a Beach Boys album.
Yep.
But it's credited to Dennis Wilson.
Yep.
And then that's kind of when Manson starts going, like, crazy, and he starts stalking and threatening Dennis Wilson.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of keeps getting rejected by the music industry.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why that was the significance of the house on Cielo Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Was that was where someone who, like, rejected him or something lived before, like, the Tates moved in.
Yeah.
And then, like, in 1968, the White Album came out, which had the song Helter Skelter on it.
Yep.
Yeah, and, like, Manson becomes obsessed with that.
He was, like, obsessed with the Beatles beforehand. Like, those were, like, he loved the Beatles.
Didn't we all?
Mm-hmm. But so he, like, adopted Helter Skelter as his, like, word for, like, impending apocalyptic doom.
Yeah. And then in 1969 is that's when all the murders start happening.
Yes.
But I will hand it off to you.
Oh.
I mostly just wanted to share that anecdote about the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that was very, very funny.
Yeah. All right, so...
Oh, also Manson's music is horrible. It's, like, incomprehensible garbage.
Is it?
It's pretty funny, yeah. It really sounds like that kind of acid folk rock.
Yeah.
Like Jefferson Airplane style, but it's, like,
yeah.
even more incomprehensible than Jefferson Airplane.
Okay, here we go. So, they murdered, I believe it was 7 people. One of the group was involved in a murder of Gary Hinman in July 1969. That was, I think, the first murder. Mm-hmm. He was a music teacher at, where was it? UCLA. He's a music teacher and PhD student at UCLA. And he befriended the members of Manson and, like, allowed some of them to, like, stay at his home sometimes. And basically, like, Manson thought that he, like, had more, like, influence that he did. Mm-hmm. And, like, he was like, nah, I can't do anything for you, dude. And so Manson killed him.
Huh.
Or not Manson.
Well, it wasn't Manson, but
his family did.
Yeah.
And then the second group of murders was Sharon Tate and her 2 guests and her ex-husband.
Yeah.
And then the next day, Lino and Rosemary LaBianca were murdered by Tex, which was one of his followers.
Yeah.
And they also were responsible for other assaults, thefts, and crimes, and the attempted assassination of the United States President Gerald Ford in Sacramento.
Weird.
I know.
I didn't know
that was by the woman called Squeaky.
Okay.
So here's another little tidbit. On March 6, 1970, which was the day the court vacated Manson, he also served as his own attorney.
I think I had heard that at one point. Yeah.
He served as his own attorney in court, which means you're a psychopath. Because also Ted Bundy did that, and a couple other people did that.
Well, it's because they've been so successful at manipulating people before that they're gonna try to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really it's funny that, like, how kind of abruptly that must come up against, like, reality. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like that it really only works when you are kind of creating and controlling the environment. Mm-hmm. Like, that's such a huge part of manipulation.
Yeah.
It's not even just, like, your words, but it's kind of what else is happening.
Yeah.
So if, like, you're trying to do that, but then there's someone 10 feet away from you being like, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
No. And because they're not, like, that's not their environment.
Yeah.
They're out of their environment. And so they're, like, you know, spell or whatever that they had on everyone else isn't going to work there because it's not his, like, space.
Right.
Yeah. He's crazy. But on March 6, 1970, the album of Manson music was released. Over the next couple of months, only 300 copies of the album of the 2,000 copies that were made were sold.
Yeah. Oof.
It's rough. So he was admitted to the state prison from LA County on April 22nd, 1971 for 7 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit the murder for the deaths of Abigail Ann Folger. Can't pronounce that name. Wojciech. Wojciech?
What was it?
Wojciech.
Probably like Wozniak?
Oh, maybe Wozniak.
Yeah.
Wozniak Frykowski.
Steve Wozniak?
Stephen Earl Parent. Mm-hmm. Sharon Tate Polanski. Jay Sebring. And Leno and Rosemary LaBianca.
I have a description of what Helter Skelter was for when you're finished.
He was sentenced to death in 1971, but the death penalty was ruled unconstitutional in the state of California in 1972, so he was resentenced to life with the possibility of parole. They gave him the possibility of parole, and he was able to parole after 7 years in jail.
What?
So I
had no idea.
Yeah, so he applied for parole, and obviously they denied it because he's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, they gave him the opportunity to apply for parole after only 7 years in jail.
That makes no sense.
I know.
That kind of person is, like, the exact kind of person that you would never give parole to.
I know. And, like, there's the I don't know why they ruled life in prison with the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
Like, why not just give him life in prison?
Yeah.
Like, you already sentenced him to the death penalty.
Yeah. Well, he committed 7 murders.
Yeah. So, absolutely insane. He gave 4 interviews to mainstream media. The first was recorded at California Medical Facility for NBC's The Tomorrow Show in 1981. The second was recorded in San Quentin State Prison. Mm-hmm. And that was for Charlie Rose, CBS News Night Watch in 1986. And that actually won the National News Emmy Award for Best Interview in 1987. The third was in 1988 for Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera. That's the guy who ran the story about the Willowbrook Hospital in Cropsey.
Yeah. He was doing a primetime special on Satanism.
He used to be like an actual journalist. Now he's just like a crazy, like Fox News guy. It's really too bad.
Yeah. But I also don't. How is Manson part of Satanism? Did they worship Satan?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there was really much of a connection. They're just big into connecting any bad thing that happens to Satanism.
Satan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's a documentary in 1989 for Charles Manson called Charles Manson Superstar that Nicholas Schreck SCHRECK.
Yeah.
But Shrek. Conducted. And then he also Shrek concluded that Manson was not insane but merely acting that way out of frustration.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what the guy who wrote the book that just came out on him said as well. I mean, obviously he was like insane.
Yeah.
But like not kind of the babbling maniac that he appears to be.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, I think he's probably a lot smarter than that.
Well, you have to be somewhat smart to be able to manipulate people like that. Like, you can't manipulate people if you're just, completely insane.
Yeah.
Because you need to understand how to, control people.
Yeah.
And you need to have, that kind of, not cohesive, but,
coherence?
Yeah, coherent, thought process.
Yeah.
In order to, do that. And then he spent the rest of his life in jail, and he died November 19th, just 7 days after his birthday, on 2017 at the age of 83. There's I was listening to an early episode of My Favorite Murder, and they didn't do an episode on Manson, but they briefly mentioned Manson. And they said that there was some kind of relation between the woman at Sharon Tate's house, who's the heir of Folger. There was some kind of connection there, but I didn't see anything about that.
I didn't see anything about that, yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it had more to do with the house being of significance to him than the people in it.
Yeah. But then, but didn't he know that that it wasn't...
Yeah.
But he knew the people that he was trying to attack weren't there anymore. It was a different group of people.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think so. I think he just sent them there. I mean, he was insane.
Yeah.
I think he sent them there to just because that was a kind of location of frustration for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, someone lived there. The person who had lived there before.
Yeah.
Was in the music business and rejected him or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what the movie shows too, because he shows up at the house and he was looking for someone else.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it was. Yeah, I think it was just that it was the house.
Yeah.
Do you want me to really briefly go over what Helter Skelter was?
Yeah.
So his ultimate, and I had heard this, but I wasn't sure how true it was. So this was a theory put forth by the prosecuting attorney. And in that new book that just came out, apparently, not all of this might be accurate.
Yeah.
So take it with a grain of salt. But this has been his ultimate goal for a long time. His goal was to ignite a race war.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And so he apparently thought that he was one of the people who thought there were cryptic messages in the Beatles' music. And so his plan was to release an album that also had cryptic messages, but about igniting a race war. And he viewed himself as the messiah of this, basically.
If you view yourself as a messiah, you're not.
Yeah. So, and this is really where it gets insane.
Yeah.
But his plan was to this is a quote from the article. It was to draw the young white female hippies out of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district. Mm-hmm. And then the black men who were then deprived of white women would become so frustrated that they would start perpetrating violence against whites, who would then retaliate and ignite a race war.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that logic follows.
Yep. And then, like, his family would be kind of, like, outside of everything. Just living and all that.
Sure. Yeah, that adds up.
Yeah.
That adds up to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I that was mentioned in a couple articles I read, but they all said that, like, all of Manson's family and Manson denied that was anything to do with it. Mm-hmm. That it sounds like that was just something that the prosecution, like, kind of crafted to, like, give him a motive. Because, like, he, I mean, didn't really have a huge motive because he didn't know the people that he killed. Yeah. And so it's like, you know, now we kind of understand that he was just kind of doing it as, like, you know, kind of a fuck you to just, like, that whole group of people who are, you know, famous and in the music and the TV industry and whatever. But I don't think that they, like, they felt like they needed a more, like, concrete motive. Yeah. And so I think that was fabricated.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds plausible.
I mean, listen.
I don't know if it is, but
you say Manson did anything and it's plausible because he's, like, you know, the connections he draws are already very thin lines. So really anything could be plausible. Yeah. You know, you tell me Manson, like, had an elephant and named him Tom, I'd be like, sure. I
mean, he also has a swastika tattooed on his forehead.
He does also have a swastika tattooed on his forehead. But that didn't appear until the 1980s. Yeah. When he was in prison. Because that was part of one of the last interviews, 1988. Yeah. Where the swastika was first appeared. Because he first had a tattoo there of an X. And then he made it a swastika.
Charming fellow.
Yeah. Very charming. Yeah. He's fascinating.
Yeah. I found myself becoming a little bit fascinated by him after the movie and just kind of delving into that time period.
Yeah. And it's, you know, like I said when we came out, I'm like, that was, like, prime time, like cult and psychopath, like, killers and just, like, murderers and just kind of, not even necessarily killers and murderers, but just, like, that whole group of people. Like, yeah, I don't really know what it was, what was in the water, but, like, there was something going on. Yeah. Because there's so many. I mean, there's Manson, Ted Bundy was in the 70s.
Yeah, Berkowitz. Yeah. Like the Son of Sam. Zodiac. Yes. Mm-hmm. I think
Dahmer was a little bit later.
Yeah.
80s?
I think so. I think a lot of it, I think that so many of them were, like, I don't know. It's to me, it's all tied up in, like, the hippie movement and the end of the hippie movement, because so many of them, that whole philosophy and lifestyle was so conducive to just a crazy person being like, I'm the Messiah. Yeah. And then everyone around him being like, oh.
Yeah.
I think that it was just kind of a culture of enablement when it came to stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and also, I feel like a little bit of kind of, like, counterculture, like, just trying to, like, be anything and do anything that wasn't traditional.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
you know, Manson's, like, kind of congregation, I guess you could call it, like, was completely different and different structure than, like, any other kind of,
Yeah.
you know, religious or spiritual, like, body.
Yeah. Well, and it was all about, like, free love and fucking and
Yeah.
taking LSD. That was the other thing, is that he would give people
A lot of
hallucinogenic drugs before he'd be like, go kill all these people. So they were all just, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It backs up my belief that there was a real darkness to that whole movement.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain amount of, like, of kind of self-righteousness and nihilism to hippie culture. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was probably very attractive for people like Manson, who clearly just kind of wanted
Attention.
the world. Well, the attention. He just wanted to see the world burn.
Yeah.
And I think that the ideas floating around at that time were pretty easily, you know, picked up and manipulated by him.
Yeah.
And people were willing to go along with it.
And I think that combined with not very good homicide detection back in those days.
Yeah.
And, like, not having the tools that we have now.
Yeah.
And, like, different police departments not talking to each other about, like,
Yeah.
we had this murder. And they're like, oh, we had one like that too. Like, there was no connection.
Yeah.
They didn't talk between districts. And I think the combination of all those things just, like, really lended itself to, like, serial killers.
Yeah.
Because they could get away with it.
They could get away with it. Yeah.
I mean, look at Bundy. Like, he did it in, like, 7 different states?
Yeah.
And it took them so long to figure out.
It took them months to get the Manson family.
Yeah.
And I think I read that they initially had picked them up for, like, Grand Theft Auto. It wasn't even for murder.
That's how they always get them.
It's for, like, other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's people like that and groups like that always get caught for the most, like, mundane things.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember who it was, and if someone knows, let me know, because I always forget. But there's a murderer, and he got caught because he was stealing a pack of gum from a gas station. And, like, if he had not stole that piece of gum, they would have never known. They would have never connected it.
Yeah.
And there's so many instances of, like, of people who got away with it and then try to do something little and stupid, like stealing a piece of gum or a car, and, like, that's how they get them.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Listen, I could talk about murderers all day long.
Yeah. Okay. Would you recommend the Manson Family?
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Great experience. It's a good, you know, kind of learning environment.
Very supportive.
Yeah, very supportive. You know, you say one thing, everyone does it. You know, it's a very, like, you know, it's a family.
It's a family.
Yeah.
All right. So, once upon a time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino's 9th and possibly final movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, Bradley Pitts, Margot Robbie, other celebrities.
Luke Perry,
Damian Lewis, Al Pacino, Michael Madsden, everybody.
What's that? The one of the Manson girls.
Oh, Lena Dunham.
Yep.
So was Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. Dakota Fanning was, like, one of the head girls.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
and Lena Dunham. That was funny.
That was funny. Okay.
She's crazy. It fits.
Lena Dunham?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really obnoxious. So after Girls finished, she had another show on HBO that apparently was just horrible.
Really?
It got canceled after like half a season.
I didn't even know there was
called
another
Camping.
Show. Oh.
So Leo is a kind of washed up actor.
Mm-hmm.
A
Western actor.
A TV Western actor who never really like made the jump over into real like A-list celebrity. Mm-hmm. His stuntman is Brad Pitt, who isn't really his stuntman anymore. He's kind of just his like gopher.
Yeah.
Running around, getting his car and fixing his cable, and
yeah.
They're both kind of washed up and questioning
life
and what they're gonna do. And Leo gets this guest spot on a Western TV show where the director actually kind of like challenges him and pushes him, and he has this kind of strange emotional odyssey.
Yeah.
Over the course of a day, Brad Pitt picks up a hitchhiker who is part of the Manson family and is brought back to Spawn Ranch, where he figures something weird is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they both go off to Italy for a while and come back, and chaos erupts.
Yes.
What did you think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
It was very good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never made the connection that it was related to Manson at all, like in the trailer. Like, it just never clicked in my head. And then the second, like, it was like maybe 5 minutes into the film, and the second they were like, oh, Roman Polanski moved in next door, I was like, this is going to be a Manson movie.
Yeah, that's so funny, because I knew that just from the description of the movie.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about it, that wasn't in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I guess if you didn't go out of your way to, like, find out, like, who Margot Robbie was playing and what the movie was about, you wouldn't know. Yeah. Yeah,
they highlighted it more as, like, in the trailer, kind of like a fun 70s, like, romp about Hollywood. And it was...
Yes, which it is.
But it also is about Charles Manson.
But then, I don't know. I mean, they showed Charles Manson in the trailer.
Yeah, but I just didn't realize that was him.
I think that's so funny. He looks so much like him, though.
He does, but he also just looks like every other dude in the 70s with long hair.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess for me, I always viewed the trailer as like a fun romp in Hollywood, but then there was this like undertone.
Yeah.
Because of Manson, and because you knew that Margot Robbie was playing Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's so funny that you didn't pick up on that, because all of like the press around the movie was about that. But I get, if you don't like pay attention to like Hollywood press,
I don't really,
then it's like not gonna. Yeah, I think that's so funny. I kind of wish that I had gone into it with that.
Yeah, but it took me 5 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah,
because like obviously Roman Polanski is a very talented and well-known director.
Yeah.
But also my association with him is with Manson, not necessarily, Rosemary's Baby or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I hear Polanski and I
think Sharon Tate.
I just think Manson in general.
Yeah.
Like,
noted statutory rapist Roman Polanski.
Ooh, is he?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah,
no. He can't leave Europe, because if he comes back here, he'll be arrested. Yeah. It wasn't like, look.
It was the 70s.
It was the 70s. He had consensual sex with it was like a 15 or a 16-year-old girl. Mm. And she has been she said that yes, this was she views it as rape, because she was so young that she was like, I didn't really have she
didn't really know what was happening. She didn't have the understanding.
Right. So even though she consented to it at the time, it still is not good.
Yes.
But a good talented filmmaker, and not I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a horrible monster.
Well, yeah, it's not like he it sounds like it was a one-time thing, right?
I think they kind of had a relationship.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it was just the one girl.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he raped 15 women.
No. And yeah, it's just... Yeah. I mean, it's not good.
No, it's not.
And it does kind of taint some of his work for me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can still recognize that he's a very talented, at least at that point in his career, was a very talented filmmaker.
When did that happen? Did that happen after the murders?
Yeah.
Well, because Sharon Tate younger than him too?
No, I think they would have been about, if she was, it wasn't by a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because he was really young when he was starting out. He was in his 30s.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Roman Polanski is another conversation.
Yeah. I don't know, it's not, excusing his actions, but also, his wife and unborn baby were murdered. So,
yeah.
I'm sure he's, pretty fucked up from that.
Yes. And I don't think that what he did was so horrible that it would ruin his stuff for me.
Yeah.
But it is part of his history and career.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think about when I watch his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
but
I said,
he's no Kevin Spacey.
No.
So
he's no Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
No Donald Trump.
No Harvey Weinstein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's good to acknowledge and think about and process and understand that's something he did.
Yes. Yeah, and to recognize that it is still a rape.
Yes.
And it's still a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
And that was a objectively bad thing that he did.
Yeah.
The woman wrote a really good op-ed about it.
Oh, I'd love to read
and
that.
she basically said that because once that happened, there was this huge outcry from Hollywood being like, oh, it's not rape, he's fine. And it was a ton of people, women and men, just all being like fuck her,
yeah,
bring him back here so we can keep making movies. And so then a couple years ago, kind of during the height of Me Too, she wrote an op-ed about how even though she kind of forgives him and isn't angry at him now,
yeah,
she does consider it rape. And then she wrote about how well,
there's a reason why it's
nightmarish
called...
it was,
yeah,
to have these celebrities all being fuck you,
yeah,
14-year-old girl or 15-year-old girl.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that there's rape and then there's statutory rape.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's consensual, if it's a certain age.
Yeah.
Because you can't comprehend what is happening.
And there would be a certain amount of manipulation on his part.
Absolutely.
Whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah.
But just by virtue of him being this celebrity director,
yep,
he is kind of in a position of power over this girl.
Absolutely.
And what he did is pretty, you can't really justify it.
No.
He should not have done that. But again, it's not on the level of something like what these other psychos do.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
One of our good tangents.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more I have sat with this movie, I think it has just skyrocketed to the top of my list for this year.
Yeah.
I think it's so good. I just mainly because he offers such a distinct vision and take on his material.
Yeah.
That it's not really even in the same league as something even as good as Midsummer or The Art of Self-Defense, because it's so everything about it is so honed and perfected. This is I think this is probably his best movie. Yeah. Just by virtue of him just being at the top of his game. Yeah. Everything about it is just spot on, and it's such a strong, he has such a strong voice. Yeah. That it's he's making this, and then other people aren't even working in the same medium as him. Yeah. Because it's I don't know. It's so good. This movie's so good. And like I don't know. When I first walked out of it, I was like, that was good. That was a good movie. And then I've just been I've been thinking about it since pretty much constantly since I saw it, and I've been listening to the soundtrack and just like, I don't know, what a just like alive, like energetic, fun. This offers the best experience of any movie I think you'll see. Certainly this year, and maybe like in a long time. Yeah. Just in terms of like, you sit down and you're just totally enveloped in a different world. Yeah. And it's so good, and I love those characters. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that they're some of my favorite characters I've ever seen. Yes. On screen.
Leo was so great.
Yeah, both him and Brad Pitt just like killed it.
Oh,
like
so
career best.
Yeah.
And like, I know that, you know, Brad Pitt made like 7 and 12 Monkeys, and those are like probably technically better performances. Yeah. And Leo did like The Revenant, and that was probably technically a better performance. But just in terms of like, I don't know, everyone was just at the top of their game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it wasn't like a technical performance in that sense. It was like they just really like enveloped the characters. Yeah. Like it didn't feel like I was watching Leo. It didn't feel like I was watching Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's true.
And whenever I watch Leo in something, I'm just like, oh, it's Leo.
Here's Leo acting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like, look at him. He's so cute. Like, yeah. But this, I didn't feel like I was watching Leo.
No, he really was that character. Yeah. And I think that...
And I think the same thing for Brad Pitt.
Yeah. It might not, you know... Clearly, these characters aren't huge stretches for either of them. No. Because they're kind of just playing versions of themselves. Yeah. But I think in terms of those characters and their performances really, like, kind of tapping into something very authentic and real. Yeah. These might be, like, career best performances from both of them. Yeah. Just because they feel like people. Yep. They don't, like even when you're watching, I don't know, I think Leo gets less believable the farther he like pushes himself. Mm-hmm. I don't really think that he has a ton of range. Yeah. Even though he kind of like pretends that he does. Mm-hmm. And I liked The Revenant quite a bit. I thought he was good in it. But it's like, he does this character so well. Yeah. And everything about him feels like such a real...
Feels like a person.
Yeah. And he's so funny and like...
Hilarious.
Like really funny and very like sad. Yep. Just a very like a really good character. And I also think this is Tarantino's best writing too. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he's... You know, there are things about his other movies that I like. I'm not a huge Tarantino fan. Yeah. But in terms of this being like, I don't know where this is going, and these feeling like actual people. Yeah. As opposed to just these... He's kind of like Aaron Sorkin in his writing, where like people... He has a really distinctive voice, so people don't really sound like real people, mm-hmm. but they work in context of the movie. Yeah. Whereas these characters, I feel like, felt and sounded very authentic and very real. Yeah. And I think that's probably just Tarantino's love of this era. Yeah. Kind of coming through.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it has to do with it being, like, in the 70s. Yeah. And, like, I've only seen one other Tarantino. I saw Pulp Fiction, and I've seen it once. Yeah. But I haven't seen anything else. But like, I feel like there's something just more like realistic and human about this. Yeah. And these characters. Yeah. They're not in like a crazy like world. No. It's just real life.
Yeah, and there's a definite vulnerability to both of them.
Yeah, and I think that is a big part of it. It's not like in some like crazy Western world, or right. like it's not like, you know, a super intense like war, or like, yeah. you know, it's just like, it's a couple of dudes. Yeah. They work in Hollywood.
Yeah, they're both like washed up. Yeah. And they're just kind of trying to figure out
it's in the 70s.
What to do. Yeah.
It's like it just feels more human.
Yeah.
And I think that lends itself to the characters coming across more human.
Yeah.
And just, like, the whole, like, plot and everything about it just makes it seem more alive and more realistic, and the acting better, because no one's, like, trying to do something, like, crazy.
Right. Yeah.
There's
It's not like
like,
it. Yeah. Exactly.
They're not trying to do anything like groundbreaking.
Right.
In, like, the movie. They're just doing a movie.
Yeah. And I think about it's a very oddly structured movie.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Like, there are really, because it takes place over 2 days, and then there's a big time jump, and then it takes place over, like, one evening. So you're really just getting these really, like, in-depth kind of snapshots and vignettes of these people's lives. And Leo's kind of journey when he's on the set of that movie is so, like, it feels so important.
Yeah.
Even though it's just him having an emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
While he's filming a shitty, like, Western.
Yeah.
But the significance that has to his character, you, like, feel.
Yes.
And you're, like, rooting for him so bad to, like, pull it together.
Yeah.
And, like, it's so good. And when he finally, like, does, it's so satisfying.
Yep.
And you feel so, like, happy for him. Because he's just this kind of, like, schlub, you know, kind of dumb, like, doesn't... He's just totally, like... He's, like, kind of like a puppy. He's just this lost, like, guy who doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Brad Pitt's character is very just fun, too. I think I'm trying to figure out what the significance of him possibly killing his wife was.
Yeah.
Because they, like, introduce that, and it's, like, they show the setup to it.
Yeah.
But then they cut away before anything actually happens.
Yeah.
So you don't know if he did or not.
Yeah.
And then it's never, like, really brought up again in the movie.
Yeah.
But clearly, because it was so, like, prominent,
yeah,
it has a significance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I watched a review where someone said that it might have been kind of like a redemption arc for him. If he did kill his wife intentionally or even accidentally, he then, in a weird, indirect way, like, saves Sharon Tate and her kid.
Yeah.
But we only know that because of, like, history.
Yeah.
So it's an odd kind of... It could be kind of an odd, like, redemption arc for him.
That, or, like, I was also thinking, like, you know, that... It seems like that kind of declined his career.
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
Like, it just seemed like it, you know... Leo's character was kind of declining because he wasn't, like, doing anything different. He just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and like, you know, he wasn't, you know, increasing in any way.
Yeah.
But Brad Pitt's character seemed like, so Leo's character seemed like he wasn't, like, doing anything because he wasn't, like, putting an effort to, like, do, like, different things.
Yeah, he wasn't... Well, he just didn't know how to change. Like, he was still... And both Tarantino and DiCaprio have talked about how his character was like... He was the prototypical leading man in the 50s and, like, mid-60s.
Yeah.
And then the industry just completely, like, changed.
Yeah.
And then you saw people like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, who are these, like, kind of shrimpy, shaggy guys, suddenly become the leading man, and then the rugged, you know, perfectly coiffed, you know, Western hero is kind of irrelevant. Yeah. And he didn't know how to, like, adapt to that.
Yeah. So that, and then compared to, like, Brad Pitt's character that just, like, didn't really have a choice of his career declining. Yeah. Like, it was all an effect because he allegedly killed his wife.
Yeah, and because he was kind of tied to Leo as well. He never really, like... Because he could have just left and become a stuntman.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He chose to stay with Leo.
Yeah.
And the movie's kind of about their friendship. Mm-hmm. We should wrap it up really quick.
Yeah.
Because we are very pressed for time.
We is.
Yeah. So let's just go through the categories really quick.
All right.
And we'll be done. Okay. Plot. Very good.
Very cohesive.
Yes. Very, like, almost... It's, like, so simple... But like the events of the movie are very minimal. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot that you could be like this and this and this happened. It's more like everything that's good about the movie is just watching those characters in their lives.
Yeah.
And in that way, I think the plot is really good and really services the characters and the story and the vibe.
Yeah. Well, because instead of the characters serving the plot is serving the characters.
Yes. Yeah. And not in a way, it's never boring, I didn't think.
No.
You're always, like, completely engaged with these people. And, And then the eventual crossing of the paths of the Manson family and these guys pays off in a very, very satisfying way. Mm-hmm. I feel like everything kind of, like, comes together in that last little, like, vignette.
Yeah.
Characters. Great.
Well defined.
Yep.
We've been talking about them.
Yeah.
Realistic.
Yes. Funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah. We should briefly talk about Sharon Tate.
Yes.
Because she's almost like... I feel like the story is about Leo and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But then she's kind of this, like, I don't know. She's like there, and you're kind of aware of her. She's like in the peripheral of the story, I guess.
Yeah.
Sharon Tate, good. Margot Robbie was really good.
Yeah.
She was kind of this, so like, great. Yeah. She's very, very talented.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Yeah. I am very glad that she didn't die in this movie, and I think it's nice that she gets to kind of like live on past this.
Yeah, I think, and I said this when we left the theater, I'm glad they didn't show it because we don't need to see it.
Yeah, because that happened in our history.
It happened. We know what happened. We don't need to see a pregnant woman being killed.
Yeah. Aesthetic. Perfect.
Yeah.
This movie looks like every shot is like the best shot.
Yeah.
It's so well done. Like the music is
music's incredible.
Easily like the best movie soundtrack. Like it's so good. The world feels very, very accurate and real. Mm-hmm. Like there are no shitty CGI backgrounds. Like it's very clear that they just like built all this stuff and made it period accurate and put up the billboards and got all the ads right, and it part of the joy of the movie is just like
feeling like you're in the 70s.
Yeah, you're like driving around with Brad Pitt in 1969. It's like it's great. Yeah, really like just top tier, filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's so good. Themes. It's really I think it both is about the end of kind of the glory days of Hollywood in a literal sense.
Yeah.
And kind of the downfall and kind of lie of like hippie culture.
Yeah.
I said this as we left the theater, but I was like, it was nice to see a movie that hates hippies as much as I do. It's very, very satisfying. But I also think that it's kind of about now. I think it's about the end of filmmaking in modern times as well.
Yeah.
And I think that he parallels the end of like, like Leo's era in the movie with the end of kind of like Hollywood celebrity movie star era now.
Yeah.
I mean, and just this movie's existence makes me realize how different filmmaking is now.
Yeah.
And how it's like even the good stuff, it still isn't. It's not as distinct. Like there's not.
Yeah.
I feel like people used to have a really strong singular voice and vision, and that's not really the case anymore.
No, people just do what they're told.
Yeah, and even in like good stuff that is like unique, it's still like not as everything is kind of like homogenous in a sense. Like everything is kind of filmed the same way.
Yeah. And
like acted the same way, and has as like the same tone. And even stuff like that I like Midsummer and The Art of Self-Defense, is like there's nothing unique or fresh about kind of the visual language or the storytelling in those movies. And then you see something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and everything about it is so like different and vibrant and like unique to Tarantino.
Yeah. And
like unique to those actors. It really does make me kind of sad for the future of like filmmaking, because I think everything's just gonna, there is no new Tarantino. There is no new Spielberg. It's like these really are the last of these like really great storytellers. Mm-hmm. And no one's really come along to replace them, and the way the movies are made now is not conducive to that. Everything is kind of like made to feel the same, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
It's a very bittersweet movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if it's progressive or conservative, it's kind of
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, conservative in the sense of it's like, it feels conservative to me because it's like kind of wishing for like glory day.
Yeah, for
kind
sure.
of thing. Like,
yeah.
This was like the glory of Hollywood. Like, this was like, so it feels a little like, remember back then when things were better?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yes, very much so.
But I think it also could be progressive.
Well, yeah, I don't, it's yeah. I mean, I think that there's nothing that stands out as like, cringy about it.
No.
And I think that to me, it's a movie that feels like, look at how, great this stuff was, and like this era was. But it feels kind of resigned to the fact that like, that time does keep moving.
Yeah.
And I think that prevents it from being like obnoxious with being like, it was so great back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it recognizes that things keep moving regardless of how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very beautiful and true, message. And that's kind of how I feel about things too.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I love that era of pop culture. But I can't bring it back. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So I feel like this movie was just very much in line with who I am as a person.
It was.
I think that's probably why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
So would you recommend Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go see it.
Yeah. And if you're in a city where they're showing it in 35mm film, try to go see it that way. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out
when we can
go. It's a great movie. I think it's really like by far my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies that I've seen, and maybe ever. Like, this might be. It's so good. It's so good. Just go see it.
Yeah.
Okay. That is all.
That's that. That's that on that.
Next week, we're going to be talking about something else. So stay tuned.
To figure out what it is.
We don't know what it is
either.
Yeah. All right. Do all the stuff. Share us and social media and stuff.
Talk about us and...
Yep.
Yes, please do.
Yes. Okay.
Adios.
Adios.